There's a quiet revolution happening in backyard gardens, and it starts with something as simple as a bucket of rainwater and a forgotten pile of dry leaves. For years, gardeners have struggled with raised beds that dry out too fast, that won't hold nutrients, or that simply seem tired no matter how much compost is added. But what if the problem isn't just the soil? It's the lack of a self-sustaining sponge. That's where an old trick comes in. This technique, soaking leaves and charcoal together in rainwater, creates something extraordinary, a living nutrient-holding matrix that mimics what forests do naturally, and it only takes 3 days to come alive. It might sound messy, even primitive, but that black sludgy mixture becomes a powerhouse for raised beds. The trick lies in understanding what it really is. Not compost, not fertilizer, but a fermented sponge charged with minerals, microbial life, and humic acids. This isn't about feeding plants once, it's about turning your raised bed into a self-regenerating system. And it all starts with soaking what others throw away. Why some raised beds never hold moisture or nutrients? Many raised beds fail after the first season or two, the topsoil dries out, organic matter seems to vanish overnight. Even with mulching, the beds lose moisture faster than the surrounding ground. The reason? They lack an internal sponge. Most commercial raised bed mixes are too loose, filled with bark, coconut coir, or peat, which dry quickly. Even when compost is added, it tends to break down too fast without a structure to hold its nutrients in place. The result is nutrient leaching and constant refeeding. What these beds need isn't more fertilizer. It's something that holds on to moisture and nutrients deep inside the soil, allowing roots and microbes to access them as needed. That's what forests get from leaf litter and biochar-rich soils. That's what this 3-day soak recreates. The fermentation trick leaves charcoal and rainwater. To understand why this works, think about the forest floor. Dead leaves fall, soak in rain, ferment, and slowly break down into humus. If charcoal is present, say from an old fire or naturally burned wood, it binds to those organic acids and begins holding nutrients like a battery. What results is humus laced with stable carbon that locks in minerals and supports fungi. The fermentation process speeds that up. When dry leaves and crushed charcoal are soaked in rainwater for 72 hours, they begin to partially rot and colonize with native microbes. The water becomes rich in tannins, humic acid, and enzymes. The charcoal acts as a scaffold, absorbing those compounds. This slurry can be poured directly into raised beds or mixed into the topsoil. Within days, the bed begins to behave differently. Water retention improves, earthworms arrive, roots push deeper. It's not magic, it's soil architecture. How to make the mix at home. Start by gathering a bucket or basin of dry leaves, ideally a mix of brown and slightly green ones. Avoid anything sprayed with pesticides. Crush them gently so they take up less space. Now add a few handfuls of crushed charcoal, not ash but actual blackened wood. This can come from a fire pit or biochar. Then add unchlorinated water. Rainwater is best. Let the mix sit uncovered for 2 to 3 days. Stir once or twice daily to aerate. You'll notice a mild sour smell. That's fermentation in progress. The microbes in the leaves begin breaking down cell walls, and the charcoal absorbs the resulting organic acids. When ready, this mixture should look like dark tea with soggy leaves and gritty black bits. That's your sponge starter. Pour it into the center of your raised bed or along rows. Cover lightly with soil or mulch to retain moisture. Within a few days, the bed will look and feel different. Dig a small section and you'll see dark sponge-like clumps forming. These are microbial colonies, fungal threads, and humic-rich zones building the soil's capacity to feed itself. Why it works? Soil biology and the sponge effect. The combination of fermented plant matter and porous charcoal, well, it creates the ideal condition for microbes to thrive. As the mixture breaks down further underground, it releases slow, steady nutrients. But more importantly, it actually retains them. The charcoal holds onto nitrogen, potassium, and trace minerals, which really helps reduce runoff and leaching. The fermented leaf matter, on the other hand, feeds fungal networks that expand through the bed. This symbiosis, boosts soil life, improves structure, and increases drought resistance. Over time, roots find stable access to nutrients and moisture, even in hot weather. This technique, actually mimics those ancient terra preta soils that you'll find in parts of Africa and South America, soils that are honestly famous for their fertility even centuries after they were first created. But here's the cool part. This method is fast, simple, and built from scraps. So, when should you use it, and what can you expect? Well, this method really shines in tired raised beds where it seems like compost just disappears way too fast. Or in those new beds where, no matter what you do, the moisture just won't stay put. It's also ideal right before you plant heavy feeders like tomatoes, squash, or corn. For best results, try using it in early spring or fall, when microbial activity is just starting to pick up. Within the first week, you might notice the soil staying darker and, honestly, a bit moister. Worms often start showing up around the mix zone, which is always a good sign. Within a month, your plants will probably grow more steadily, even if you're watering less. And over the season, the soil just gets easier to work, soft, rich, and really alive. You won't need to repeat the process often. Just 1 or 2 applications per season can create a lasting sponge system. Over time, as roots, microbes, and organic matter accumulate, your bed becomes self-feeding, holding nutrients like a slow-release capsule. The takeaway here is to build soil that gives back. Gardening doesn't have to be a constant cycle of adding, amending, and worrying. Sometimes, honestly, the answer lies in looking backward, to how nature builds ecosystems from decay, moisture, and structure. Soaking leaves in charcoal and rainwater seems almost too simple to work, but it does. It transforms weak soil into living soil. If your raised beds dry out too fast, if your plants look hungry even after compost, if your soil feels flat and lifeless, try this. Don't throw away your leaf litter. Don't ignore charcoal. Together, they create the hidden architecture that keeps soil thriving. And if you found this guide useful, subscribe to Hydrohaven for more regenerative gardening ideas that actually work. Share this with a fellow gardener who's tired of dead soil and wasted effort. Let's build gardens that feed themselves, starting with the simplest ingredients.